So, you mostly old students? Not old in age, but you know, you know, can training your mind since a number of years. So, if one speaks about, the gradual evolution of the spiritual life, so I think, like His Holiness says, the first step is a little bit, that applies even to non-Buddhists. So the meditation before shows you that we all have Buddha essence or Buddha potential, right? That if you look into the core of your being, what do you find? Bliss and emptiness. So if you try to find your essence, if you take away one layer of blanket, another layer of blanket, what do you find? Or when you peel an onion, one layer after the other. So what's the essence of your being? Is bliss and emptiness, or clear light, bliss, emptiness. So, and as it is for you, so it is for me and for all living beings. So even the worst person that you know, if you peel the layer of that being, take away his karma, his delusion, his self-grasping ignorance, his self-judging mind, if you peel that person and its essence is also clear light, bliss, emptiness. So every being has this fundamental nature. We call Buddha nature or Buddha potential. So each being has that. Even the animal, the insects, all beings in the sixth realm, or even desire realm, form and formless realm. Any beings that has mind has this pure essence. So this is extensively explained and taught in the Uttara Tantra, the sublime continuum of the Mahayana, a text composed by Maitreya Sangha. So he gives many examples of how our pure mind is temporarily obscured and how to remove this obscuration and to reveal to oneself its pure nature. So the way His Holiness Dalai Lama explains it in a secular way is that we are all human being, all part of humanity. So we're all the same in wishing to be happy and having the right to be happy. So we all fundamentally the same, and we all have the essence of love and compassion in our heart. And we have received so much love from our mother, so we have been taught love, from our mothers. even though we might not remember. So His Holiness Dalai Lama puts very much emphasis on that we are all part of humanity, and we all same in wanting to be happy and have the same right to be happy. And then the greatest possession in life is a warm heart of loving kindness. So if we live with love, if we have love in our heart, so that's the greatest possession, the greatest joy is to live with a loving heart. So I think whichever way we can induce this mind that realize that all beings we're all the same in wanting happiness, not wanting suffering, and nobody is happy with the amount of suffering he has. He or she will always want more. And in that text I mentioned, the sublime continuum of the Mahayana, so the Maitreya explains, this thirst for happiness is our own Buddha nature that seeks to return home or to become Buddha, to become a fully manifest Buddha. So this thirst for happiness is a sign that we have Buddha nature. And we all have the seed of love and compassion. So some people, their love extends as far as their cat or their dog. And for some it extends to their children or to their spouse. So, but everybody has love for someone, has that seed, that essence of love. And that love can grow in intensity and in scope. So through training, one can extend one's loving kindness to gradually to all living beings. So the Dalai Lama says one of our greatest obstacles in life is to discriminate between self and other, or me and they. And we see nowadays in politics, how much harm comes from this attitude of me and they. So this polarization, you see, prevents us to develop this universal love. And unless we can overcome that, we will never be truly happy. And we cannot heal the division that exists in our society. It is between my family and other, my company and other, my country and other. So everywhere there's this division between me and others. So we have to check in our heart, you see, do we still have this me and other? So if we still have, we have to work on it. See? So the people which don't like the politician with some outrageous belief or speech. So always remember that they are living beings that have Buddha nature. And deep down, they have this clear light, bliss, empty mind, this Buddha nature. And that temporarily they're obscured by this and that belief. But deep down, they have this pure nature, and one day they will become fully enlightened being. And not only that, but these politicians with their crazy views, or the terrorists, or the snipers, and so on. See, if we accept the idea of rebirth, of beginningless life, so each one of them has once been one's most intimate friend. Each one has been one's partner, one's parent, one's child. So due to passage of time, different karma, different. So some of our friends of the past have become Buddha, meanwhile, and some have become terrorists and crazy people. But we all are intimately linked. So when you see these crazy people, you know that you cannot understand their present behavior or state of mind. If you remember that they have been your parents, your partner, your child, that they have been intimate with you and that you were very close and you shared your little secret and, you know, the person that makes you the happiest now in your life. You imagine, well, these beings at one point have been like that with me. So, thinking along those lines, you see me and they disappears. And unless one does that work, on oneself, we will not have peace. And unless you make loving kindness your default state of mind, you will experience no joy. Yes, there will be temporal joy, temporal excitement. but everlasting happiness, everlasting contentment, and your default well-being comes from a mind of loving kindness towards each and every living being. See, to live with that warm heart, regardless of what people think, say, or do. Because you don't look at the surface of being, you look at their essence. And if one were able to induce such a state of mind, anything you think or say or do will benefit everyone you encounter. And people will be attracted to you. And even if you don't say anything, your presence will be healing. And in this time of great degeneration and strife and fear, you will be like a lighthouse. And whatever happens to you, there will be no fear, because your loving kindness, your warm heart will reveal to you your immortal nature. So death is just changing shape, but your loving heart will be your home. And wherever you go, you will always be there with your loving heart. And the Buddha said there's no greater purification of the mind of past negative action than to develop this loving heart. And there's no greater collection of positive karma or merit than to live with this loving heart. So when one dies, our loving heart will attract us to similarly loving, kind people. And as one's heart of loving kindness expands, you see, we'll become bodhisattvas and enter the path towards omniscient mind. So the essence of the most important quality is to live with his loving heart, loving kindness towards each and every living being. Whether we meet a shopkeeper, a beggar, or somebody that cuts off in the street with their car or horns at us, people that make us problem. So they are all challenges. They're all teacher. They are our teacher making exam to see whether we're still able to maintain a loving, kind heart, even when the Buddha manifests as obstacle to us, as interferer. So whether we accept Buddha's teachings of rebirth and cyclic existence or not, you see, we are born on this planet and we live a short time. So at least not trying to make a mess and try to make a positive contribution while we are alive. So if we develop that understanding that there's nothing more precious to live with a loving heart and a kind heart, and make that our main practice, you see, constantly being mindful of being kind, gentle, loving, and use our wisdom to enhance that attitude in everyday life. So that will bring us great joy. And somehow, if you live with a loving heart, you have no fear. Is when you have self-grasping and self-cherishing mind. When you're selfish, the selfish mind has fear. But the mind of love and compassion, the mind that cares for others, doesn't have any fear. The mind that loves others more than self doesn't have fear for self. He's not interested, or he doesn't care about itself. It cares about others. So the Buddha said, you see, if you don't exchange the attitude of being mostly selfish with the attitude of altruism, caring and loving and trying to benefit others, let alone next life, even in this life you have no joy. So how do we train in that state of mind? At the time of Buddha, there was a person that was very miserly. He couldn't even give 1 penny to somebody else. He was so miserly. So the Buddha told him, with your right hand you give to your left hand, to train in giving, slow, So you offer from one hand to the other. And then gradually, be able to give something to another person. And like that you train your mind in giving. So same thing, you see, you can develop love for yourself. So with your wisdom mind, you offer love to yourself. You see, you give yourself whatever you wish, So you imagine offering to yourself a healthy body, enjoyment, nice partner, nice family, friends, a nice place to live, and so on. So whatever you fancy, you imagine that you're offering that to yourself out of love, out of wishing yourself to be happy. So imagine what could make you more happy at this present moment in your life, and offer that to yourself. Then to be more happy, I need to remove my mental affliction, my fear, my obsession, my anger, my pride, my jealousy, my attachment to a mistaken perception of myself. So I have to free my mind from all that afflicts it, all this distraction, all what agitates the mind and prevents me from experiencing my inner peace, my inner joy. So you offer to yourself this freedom of your own mental affliction. And then you offer yourself the realization of a totally open heart, that genuinely care for all living beings. Then you offer to yourself the realization that sees this life and the event of our life like a lucid dream. So in a lucid dream, you're aware of the dream, of the people in the dream, but at the same time you know it's just a dream. So you don't get attached, or you don't have fear of the event in your dream because you know it's just a dream. So same thing, a person that realizes that things exist in mere name, he has insight that things are ultimately empty of inherent existence, but they exist relatively superficially, dependence on cause and condition. So he sees the event of his life like in a lucid dream. And you offer to yourself the experience of an omniscient mind that sees the infinite past, infinite present, infinite future of yourself and all living beings. Then you put yourself into the shoes of the person the closest to you in your life, whether your partner or a child, a friend or a parent. So you put yourself into his or her body and imagine what he or she would like, what would make he or her happy. And you offer that to him or her. Whatever clothes, house, friend, food, whatever worldly thing that person aspires to, good health, long life, security. So imagine out of love for that person, you offer him or her that thing. And he or she would also love to have the experience of being free from fear, free from obsession, from anger, free from these mental afflictions. So you imagine out of love that you're able to give him or her that freedom. Then you imagine being able to give him the gift of a loving heart. You know, that he or she is able to develop this loving heart to all living beings. Then you imagine giving him or her the realization that everything is similar to a dream, like a lucid dream. So the world exists, it arises in dependence on cause and condition, and constantly change, yet in essence, it is empty. So like in a lucid dream, we see the dream object, dream people, dream activity, yet at the same time we know it's just a dream. It doesn't have any essence. So we give that experience to that most cherished person in our life. And we give even the omniscient mind to that person. Then we repeat that with the second person, a third, a fourth, a fifth, till we gradually can gently give happiness to all living beings. Starting with the one we feel close, then the people towards whom we feel indifferent, and then even the people which we don't like, that great problem. So, and if we want, are able, can put that on the movement of the breath. When you exhale, with love, you exhale light rays that transform into whatever beings desire. Worldly happiness, worldly enjoyment, and then realization of the path to enlightenment. And as you inhale, you imagine taking away the physical and mental pain, the hunger, thirst, fear of war, and so forth. So whatever obstacle people have, out of compassion you take away from them, and out of love you give to them whatever they desire with exhale. And then pay special attention to the people which have problem with, like the politicians that have outrageous views, outrageous actions, outrageous speech. So imagine being able to take away from them their fear, their mental affliction, their anger, their pride, their jealousy, their obsessions. And you give them the gift of love, the gift of joy. So Maitripa, in his Vajra song, he says, he explained this meditation and he speaks to himself. If I would live like that all the time, always meditating like that, there's no moment where my life is wasted. If I were to always give with love and take with compassion with each breath, so my life would be worthwhile. There's not a moment of my life that would be wasted. And then he says that even if I wander in samsara, life after life, if I would live like that, giving with love and taking with compassion, my time in samsara is worthwhile. My time in samsara wouldn't be wasted. Wherever I'm reborn, whatever lifestyle I will have, if I live with love and compassion, my life will be positive, will be beneficial for me and for others. And then he says, you see, by whatever affliction that is present in my mind, such a strong desire for this and that, strong attachment, anger, pride, jealousy, and so forth. So when you recognize this affliction in your mind, so you use them, you know how unpleasant they are, then you imagine taking away the same affliction in the mind of others. As you inhale, you take away the mental affliction of others. And as you exhale, you share whatever goodness you have in your life. If you have enough food, enough clothes, nice house, nice friends, nice car, nice job. So whatever goodness is in your life, good health, happy mind, all this you offer to others, you share with others. Then Maitripa admonished himself. He said, I should practice like that this year. I should practice like that this month, this week, this very day, this very instance. May I never be separated from this practice. And those who know the mantra of love and compassion, or Mani Padme Hum, so while doing this meditation, then at the same time while they walk on the beach or in a park, or in the street going shopping or driving around. You see, you can make this meditation while reciting Om Mani Padme Hum and sending waves of loving kindness from your heart towards all being. So then you create incredible merit with your mind and with your speech. And if on top of that you imagine yourself as a Buddha, so you create merit with your body as well. So then there's not an instant, whether you're young, whether you're in good health, whether you're sick, whether you're old and disabled, whether you're about to die, not a single instant will be wasted. Not a single instant of your life will be meaningless. And in many texts it says, you see, if one were to be about to die, the best practice would be that one. So the best practice for dying with a peaceful mind, for getting to a good place after one dies, is to die with love and compassion, with bodhicitta. So Ribu Rinpoche once was at Land of Medicine Buddha, and he taught about powa. And at the end, he said, very few people die in good health. And you need to be quite in a good health to do powa. So he says, but everybody can die with a loving, kind heart by doing Tonglen. So he says that's the best practice for transference of consciousness. But to be able to do it while one dies, one has to be familiarized with it before. So if you make that your main practice, there's a great chance that while you fall asleep with love and compassion, you wake up, you train in love and compassion, and throughout the day you train in love and compassion. You fall asleep with love and compassion. So like that, you become so familiarized with it, it becomes your second nature. So when you die, you will die with love and compassion. And that love and compassion will bring you to a good rebirth without doubt. That's what Ribu Rinpoche advised to people wanting to do powa. Any questions about that? Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering, was that a form of Tonglen?
Yes. Put in other words, yes.
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 It was a Tonglen for ourselves as well as for other beings.
Yes. Tonglen means giving and taking, right, in Tibetan?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you give with love and you take with compassion.
A question I had about taking with compassion.
Huh?
A question I had about taking with compassion. What does that mean, actually? Because you want to give with compassion.
You give with love. So in Buddhism, love is wishing other people to be happy,
Yes.
right? And compassion means imagine taking away their problem, with compassion. So compassion is the wish to other people to be free from suffering, right? So you imagine taking away what caused them problem, that caused them suffering.
I see. So you're taking away their suffering, and
Yes.
that is what is taking with compassion.
Yes.
I
yes.
see.
Yes.
I see. Thank you.
I'm just curious. I never heard before that your body had to be in fairly good health to receive POA.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, if you have cancer, right? I mean, your mind is completely messed up. So unless you're a really advanced yogi, you're not able to control your mind and your body then, right? If you're an advanced yogi, yeah, you can. But for us, he was speaking to us. So he said, look, if you have cancer or another, degenerative disease, it's kind of difficult to sit up and, visualizing your central channel and hic, and extracting your consciousness. And you might be under morphine or other medicine, right? And if you do it too soon, then it's also, if you do it while you're still healthy, then it's like killing you. It's like suicide, right? So if you do it too early, it's not good. And if you do it at the right time, you might not be able to do it, right? Like that.
Venerable René, did you used a Tibetan word when you were talking about dying with a peaceful mind? And was it duck tongue?
Oh, I didn't see any Tibetan words. I don't
No?
recollect. No, I don't recollect using a Tibetan word.
Okay, then that's
Maybe torpor, Venerable. You were saying torpor.
Torpor. Maybe
might be
torpor.
it. Maybe.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
see?
I think she's happy.
I have a question. When I imagine offering things like video games or candies to my children, it's like I feel I have a little resistance because maybe those are not so great for them.
It's a very temporary source of happiness. One starts with that because that's what makes them happy right now, right? And when they grow up, you give them something more, maybe something more consistent, this form of happiness. But that's what makes them happy now, right?
Even if it's something that might not be healthy for them.
Well, if you give them cigarette or, or heroin, like that wouldn't be good, right? So, yeah. I have a question for you. So what's the challenge we face in trying to do that in everyday life? What are the challenges we encounter? Why? We heard this, for 10, 20, 30 years, So what are the challenges we face to make that our main practice, Why is it so difficult to big like His Holiness Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, all these Lama that naturally have this loving, warm heart, you know. And they are like that because they trained in that for dozens of years. They weren't born like that. You know, most of them, they had to train, you know, they developed that. And so what are the challenges that we face in not being able to do so?
Distraction, I think, concentration. It's so hard to stay stable in life and all of the things that we have to do.
Yeah, distraction and distraction. What else you said? Lack of concentration. I think it's a good one. You know, we're just distracted by. So our mental affliction are very strong because distraction is a mental affliction, right?
A lot of the times we grasp and our attachment is so strong that we're afraid and fear of the unknown, of what will happen if we give all that we have. Mm-hmm. Because that's what the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche, they just keep on giving with nothing that they have of themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that because we cling and we grasp to everything that we have, and because of our own attachment to our own likes, we're not able to give.
Yes, it's true. It's true. So, basically our mental affliction are so strong that they prevent us. You know, so when the mental afflictions are weak, we can do love and compassion. But as soon as they flare up and become big, so they overpower our mind of love and compassion. Isn't it?
That's right. And I think that Tibet's point about training and making sure we're really training on love and compassion and thinking about it every day, maybe we'll reduce the afflictions a little bit at a time.
Yes. So that's why I think every day reading some verses that induce love and compassion, like in the morning prayers, you know, Lama Zopa Rinpoche added these verses, you know, from the 8th verse of thought training, from Arya Sura, or from Shantideva. So every day, just read one verse and meditate on it, you know, for 5 minutes. So to start the day like that, and then, you know, throughout the day, when I used to work in a flower shop in Geneva, so one thing in the break, what I would do, I would have my mala, and with Om Mani Padme Hum, I would walk the street, and the mantra would remind me, you know, to be in the mind of love and compassion. So I used the mantra, and I had a small mala. No, I don't walk the street like that. You know, it's just a small one like that. So that if I would get distracted by other thought, other concern, you know, because I had the mala in mind, it would remind me, and then Om Mani Padme Hum would remind me of that state of mind of giving and taking on the breath. And then remind me of Chenrezi and being Chenrezi and sending rays of light out to whoever I encounter down the street, right? So in the US it's a bit difficult because you don't walk down the street. You know, in Europe you're in a city and you take public transport and you walk, you know, so, you know, in the middle of people all the time. Whereas here it's more like you drive down the, the street. It's a little bit different. So people are hidden in their box car, right? Yeah. So it's a little bit different.
Okay. I have a question, Venerable. Dear Venerable. So you mentioned just now when you don't care about yourself and you care about others, there's no fear. Can you say some more about that?
I think fear its root comes from self-cherishing, caring about your well-being. But if you totally give up the mind that cares about oneself, you completely offer yourself to other. There's no fear. In that mind that totally gives yourself to other, like it says in the prayer, if it's better for other beings that I live, may I live. If it's better for me to be healthy, may I be healthy. But if it's better for other people that I may be sick, may I be sick. And if it's better for others that I die, may I die. You see, you completely reverse this attitude. You give yourself completely to other. Right? So it's not necessarily that you do it physically, but it's a state of mind where you completely give up your self-centered attitude. And it's totally freeing, to cultivate that. Yeah. She hasn't finished.
Oh, yeah. I'll come right back. Here we go. Sorry, Lenny. What about your practical fears? Like you have to, money fears or like that. How does that
So you
translate?
do on that, you see, I have this fear of not having enough money. So I take the fear of other people that don't have money. I take that fear out of compassion. I free them from that fear. You see, now in Gaza or in so many places, people are starving, and they don't have any money. They don't know how they're going to buy the next meal, right? So they have much more suffering of, they have even less money than we have, right? So you imagine out of compassion, you imagine freeing them from their fear of not having money, right? So out of compassion, you take that upon you and you share with them whatever you have mentally, you share out of love, you give them whatever you have. And that state of mind, you will see there's kind of a joy, a light that grows in your heart when you do that. Even though physically you don't give anything and you don't really take anything from other, but that state of mind you induce is so virtuous, so positive, and even if you do it sincerely, one day I will be able to do that. Now I'm not able to physically do, but one day I'll be able to help beings extensively. May I become incredibly wealthy and share, may I become like Musk, being a trillionaire and be able to share that with all the beings in the world, Okay.
Well, this is in response to your request from us with what keeps us from practicing these things. And it just occurs to me, I think about this often, is that this is a time of incredible busyness and overstimulation and over busyness and over input and over information. And everybody practically that I meet, and say, how are you doing? Oh, I'm keeping busy. And there's some sort of emphasis on being busy and overloaded. So it seems to me that the stress level, people feel helpless. And I certainly find with the onset of technology that it hasn't made life easier and freed up more time, but it's made things more complicated and so forth. And so what I want to say is that I think always that people have a choice in life to how they prioritize what they're doing with their life. And if really we want to practice, we need time. We need time to say mantras, have prayers, and so forth. So that I think it's really worthwhile to look and see how we can change our lives and our priorities and dial things down so we have some choice again. Anyway.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I think there's Janice online.
Hi.
Janice, go ahead.
Yes. It's so nice to see you, Venerable.
Janice.
So my difficulty in these times comes with what I perceive to be evil people in the world. And how, step by step, how do we overcome that when there are truly evil people in power? It's so hard to imagine giving and taking from those people.
Yeah, you have to imagine them as a small child, you know, a little baby, a few months old, you know. They weren't like that at that time, you know. So at some point they were lovable, you know, and they were kind and they were sweet, you know. And they have the potential to become like that again, you know. At the moment they're, you know, they're obscured and they're crazy, right? But their essence, you know, that beauty is in them. So one doesn't condone their behavior, you know, when one has love and compassion to them, you know, like His Holiness Dalai Lama, we practice Vajra stubbornness, you know. So we don't agree, you know, with do, and we oppose their behavior with everything we can, you know. So, you know, so politically we do whatever we can to counteract their behavior, right? So, but it doesn't turn into hatred. You see, the main point is, like it says in the Bodhisattva vows, if there's one being that you leave out of your love, then you're not a Bodhisattva, right? If there's one being that you have the heart close towards, you know, if there's one being you wish never to reach enlightenment, right? Then you're not a Bodhisattva, right? So we have to be careful and pay special attention to these people that, you know, upset us with their behavior, right? So it's not easy, I agree, you know, it's difficult, but it is possible because they have this essence of Buddha nature, and one time they were our lover, you know.
Definitely helps to think of them as a newborn baby, for sure. Thank you.
Erin, David.
Pleasure to see you. Such a joy. It's been wonderful hearing stories about Erin's time that she just shared with you, Vajrapani. So my question comes back to the Tonglen practice that you had kind of modified as opposed to the black coal piece. That's a little more accessible for me. Mm-hmm. My concern or question is when we're giving things mentally, how not to make that feel contrived, how to really kind of be genuine with that. Because it's easy to be like, oh yeah, I give them this and that, without it really coming from my bank account or from my, you know, from the material side of things. But yeah, how does that not become a contrived sort of practice?
I think, as was mentioned, you start with the person the closest to you in your life, right? So there you naturally give good food, nice drink, you know, a cuddle, and, you know, whatever makes he or her happy, right? So it's not contrived, right? It's easy. And then if you, for your parents, or if you have children, or if you have friends, so it's not contrived, you know, you easily wish to make them happy, right? It becomes more difficult when it comes to stranger, right? and then even more difficult to people we have trouble with, right? But that's why one starts with the one close to us, because then we are able to feel it genuinely, right?
Right.
So it's a familiarity of that state of mind of giving, right? Of making other. It actually doesn't matter what you give. What you actually give is the joy in the mind of that person, right? So whatever makes that person happy, right? So it doesn't matter what it is, right? It can be a cookie to a child, or $1 to a beggar, or or a Ferrari to a rich person, right?
That makes sense. Thank you.
Shankar?
I was just going to say that since you were talking about doing Tonglen while walking, and since we don't walk here, we drive. So Rinpoche had said in one of the retreats that to imagine that all the stupas, holy objects, all the statues and so on are on our right, and that we're leading all the people in the freeway all behind us, and we're all circumambulating. So as we're driving, we can think that we're leading all sentient beings to enlightenment. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you're kinder nowadays or less blunt than maybe used to be. But 20 years ago in our Lam Rim class at Vajrapani, when somebody had said, I don't have time to do, this is going back to Lenny's thing about time and priorities. I don't have time to do meditation. You said, don't tell me you don't have time. You just have different priorities.
Yeah. But I mean what Lenny said, that overstimulation or the over-addiction to phone, computer, TV, screens, basically just screens, They say that actually, scientifically, we have less, attention span, yeah. So that becomes really a problem in younger people, the attention span decreases, and that's really a problem, right? So, because to experience satisfaction or pleasure, in the mind, you need to slow down, to be able to appreciate the present moment. So if you always need stimulation, if you always need outer object of stimulation, so the mind is very scattered, very, very agitated. It's very interesting because I remember when I was a kid, they would say, what was the reason for material progress? Well, the material progress was there so that you had less to work, so you had more free time to do, But actually, it's not happening, right? It's the opposite. Life becomes even more quick pace, it's not slowing down. You don't have more leisure time, just to watch the sunset, So it's a bit sad, how the society evolves in actually, and now with robot and artificial intelligence, even the jobs will disappear, and then what's going to happen? How you see, if everybody would get $5,000 in their bank account every month, and you wouldn't need to work, and then you would suddenly have free time, to do whatever you want. But I doubt it that that these multi-billionaires will replenish our bank accounts to everyone for free, So it's kind of, I think as long as love and compassion is there, it's not there in the mind, of these people, it's not going to happen. So I don't know what the future will bring. But we cannot control the outer world, but we can control our mind. So that's what we can do. And I think if we live with love and compassion, somehow, the worst that can happen to us is to die. And we're going to die anyway, right? So it might happen a few years earlier, but if you die with a happy, loving mind, then you end up to a good place. So, after all, not much can happen to us, if you look at it from that perspective. We're going to die, it's a fact. So it's not whether, it's more, it's a fact we're all going to die. And if we are ready at that moment, then whether we end up in a Pure Land or another nice family, whether on this planet or on another planet, other dimension, I think this loving kind heart will take care of, will be born in a loving family, and meet spiritual teacher again young in our life, and because of our familiarity with it, we'll train again young and have good condition. You see, good condition comes about due to an ethical lifestyle, being generous, and having aspiration prayer. So these are the three conditions that causes for us to have a good rebirth, to meet again teacher, to be attracted to the teaching, and then we have better condition next time to make spiritual progress. So that's why to train in having an ethical life, not to harm anyone. So when one speaks about generosity, often we think generosity is just material thing, right? But you have 4 gifts, right? So you have the gift of materials, but then you have the gift of love. So having a loving mind is also giving, right? So we can all give love, right? And then protection, so the gift of protection, so protecting from harm, right? So we can protect insects, when we walk, or small animals, we can protect people which cross the street, we can help the elderly, help them in their task, that become difficult and dangerous for them. So we help the elderly, And then the 4th gift is gift of spiritual advice, or share our wisdom. It doesn't mean sitting, on a seat and speaking to an audience. We can all give our wisdom, our loving kindness, our advice, starting with our children, our parents, our friend, So we all have to learn, use our own wisdom and see what's possible, what these people are able to hear, and try to find the word that they can understand. It doesn't need to be Buddhism, just induce them to have a loving attitude, or induce them to make one small act of generosity, just to put good imprints in their mind. So, and we all have that faculty to help others, with our spiritual advice. We don't call it spiritual advice. We just, by knowing what the essence is, we try to induce these qualities in others. Right? So these are the 4 types of gifts, right? Material, love, protection, and dharma. So it's good to know them, because it's not just material thing. The other ones are as worthwhile.
Hi. How do you give without attaching?
Without attachment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the beginning, it might be mixed with attachment, right? So, you know, we give to our children because we love them, because we are attached to them, you know. We give to our parents because, you know, we are attached to them. We give to our friend because we are attached to them. And then, yeah, and maybe subconsciously we expect something in return, right? You know, because, yeah, that they make us happy in return.
Well, you talk about intuition,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes equating it to clairvoyance. But I truly sense that from you. When you do give to us, there's no feeling of attachment. And so I would just like to hear from you and your imprints on how it is that you're able to do that with us without us feeling that there is any expectation in return. Therefore, the love and the compassion is just pure.
Just familiarity, you know. I wasn't always like that, you know. I was very selfish and very self-centered, you know. So it's just training, you know, year after years, you know. It's not that, it's only that. And I think also when you mix it with a little bit with emptiness, you know, so selflessness, and then Buddha nature, you know, your pure nature. So all this together, you know, it's like you cannot separate one spiritual practice from the other. They all help each other. They're all intertwined.
Is this what we all mean by bodhicitta?
Huh?
Is this what we mean by bodhicitta in some ways?
Yeah, you can say relative
practice of
bodhicitta,
tonglen,
relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, right? Both, right? Yeah. And then the blessing from the gurus, you know, the blessing from the Buddhas. So all this together, you know, yeah. Over the years, you know, it's not something that happens from one year to the other. It's something, and it's, you know, it's a lifetime work, right? You know, but you see that here, you know, with people like Lenny or other people, you know, Judith, you know, all these people which have practiced their whole life. So you see, you know, there's a beauty, a wisdom, a kindness there, you know, that comes from a life of practice, right? So, and we also, you know, by training gradually after 20, 30, 40 years, you know, we'll be a smiling grandpa and smiling grandma. with all of full of wrinkles, but wrinkle of laughter, you know, wrinkle of joy.
It seems to me that I have two choices. If
louder.
It seems to me that I have two choices. I don't know who is a bodhisattva and who is not. If I look around and I see people engaging in corrupt leadership, etc., I have to have compassion with them because they are bodhisattva, they know what they are doing, which I don't know. And if they're behaving corruptly, they're creating a horrible future for them and any other beings. Therefore, on that level, they're worthy of compassion. It's just the way I have to think about it.
So
if I look around and we see a lot of things, horrible things that are happening around. And we see people that we tend to say they are the causes or the leaders or the pointers of those events. It doesn't mean that I don't object to the events and I don't go out and try to demonstrate or whatever ways I can oppose it on one level. But on another level, I have to have tremendous compassion with them because they are creating horrible circumstances for themselves and also for all the people who follow them and believe in them. They are actually an object of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Yes, that's good. Very good. You bodhisattva like that?
I want to comment on what Venerable just said about that he hasn't always been that way. And I mean, none of us have. We might have been when we were little infants and we had like maybe something like a clean slate except for our karma, but we didn't know about that. But what I want to say is that over long years, I came to the realization that I can't change anybody but myself. Believe me, I tried. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But the thing is that if there's something that I've worked on through Dharma, and it's work, but it means initiating a lot of change in the way that I'm comfortable or in habits, whatever. It means seeking positive change. And once that happens, it improves my life across the board, and everything is better, not just that one area. And I think that people learn from watching other people, and that Venerable said earlier that you're like a lighthouse. You can be like a lighthouse. And that's what people pay attention to, that inspires them to change themselves and to do the work. And I think that's all we can do while in the meanwhile making progress and, slogging towards enlightenment. But one step at a time, and there's a reason why it takes so many lifetimes. One habit is very hard to change. It could take your whole life to just change in 2 areas. And then what about all the others? It's very hard to change. But we have to put the effort in. We can't change other people. They don't listen, and they don't want to hear, and whatever the cause is, we can only work on ourselves. That's what I wanted to say.
That's true. All right. I think we conclude with a little meditation. So at the moment in the world is a lot of suffering, like in Gaza Strip, Palestinian and Israeli situation. And then in Ukraine, on both sides of the fence, the Russian soldier, they forced to do that. And so anyway, so much. These young people, they are in their 20s and their youth has been taken away from them, right? They had project to get married, to have this and that job, and to do this and that with their life, and suddenly they're brought into this horror of killing and being killed, or hurting or being hurt. So you see, think about this situation in the world, and maybe for a little while let's do giving and taking on the movement of the breath for all these people that we know suffer in this situation, and also the people that we might have karma with, some friend, relatives that are dying or that have heavy sickness of body and mind. So for a little while, let's make giving them with love and take away with compassion. So whatever positive energy, positive karma we've created, by reflecting on love, compassion, our potential of enlightenment. So may this merit we dedicate so that they contribute, that they never decrease until we reach full enlightenment. May they continue to multiply and benefit us and all living beings until we Buddha. And may the love, compassion, bodhicitta that we have not yet generated, may we be able to generate it. And may the love, compassion, bodhicitta we already have generated never decrease but increase forevermore. Okay, thank you very much. Hasta mañana.